It's a major victory of people's power in Iran. After months of relentless protests by Iranians, the country's morality police has been disbanded. The announcement is a big breakthrough for the protesters who have been out on the streets demonstrating and raising slogans relentlessly against the Iranian regime. From universities to ports to oil refineries, despite the severe crackdown, the protests failed to die down. Visuals from Iran of women chopping off their hair and burning their hijabs had shaken the world, giving a rise of a major people's uprising. Over 200 people, including government officials, have lost their lives so far. The anti-hijab protests began after 22-year-old Mahsa Amini's arrest and death in the moral police custody in September of this year for allegedly violating the strict female dress code. The protests were not just limited to Iranian cities and spread globally, with more and more people backing the protesters. Widespread global protests also put further pressure on the Iranian regime. The Iranian Attorney General Mohammad Jafar Montazeri told local news agencies the morality police have nothing to do with the judiciary and have been abolished. Reports say his comment came at a religious conference where he responded to a participant who asked why the morality police were being shut down. The announcement of their abolition comes a day after Montazeri said that both Parliament and the judiciary are working on the matter of whether the law requiring women to cover their heads needs to be changed. The hijab law was brought into effect in Iran 4 years after the Islamic Revolution of 1979. The morality police, known formally as the Gasht-e-Irshad or the Guidance Patrol, were established under hardline President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and their motto was to spread the culture of modesty and hijab. The units began patrols in 2006. On Saturday, President Ebrahim Raisi said in televised comments that Iran's Republican and Islamic foundations were constitutionally entrenched, but there are methods of implementing the constitution that can be flexible.
Iran's Republican and Islamic foundations are constitutionally entrenched, but there are methods of implementing the constitution that can be flexible.
Now, for more on this story, we are being joined by Fouad Izzadi, a political commentator from Iran. Thank you for being with us. Now, this is a major victory of people's power. After months of the relentless protests by Iranians, the morality police have been disbanded. What is the latest?
The latest is that the people who are demonstrating are a tiny, tiny minority of the Iranian people. So calling them putting this terminology of people's power is not accurate reporting. I suggest you send a reporter to Tehran and or any other city in Iran, and when you walk around, as you know, we don't have any enforcement of the hijab for the last 2-3 months. But when you come to Tehran, you see overwhelming majority of females are observing the hijab on their own without any guidance or restrictions on the government part. The reason is that more than 98% of Iranians are Muslims, and Muslim ladies like modesty. Having modesty is not a bad thing. We know some countries that are not modest, or they have lost the modesty. They have lost the family values that any society needs. And we see the consequences in those societies. So Iran doesn't want to be like the United States or some other Western country. What the United States decides to do with regard to gay marriage or dress code is their own business. It's not our business. But demonizing Iran and using this type of terminology that is bordering Islamophobia is not something that I would suggest a reputable channel to do. And what I suggest is that reporting the facts. So the latest is that the idea of this Gasht Irshad, as you called, has been under review for a number of years. And so the question was, how do you follow Islamic morality in a proper manner? And the announcement yesterday was that that type of enforcement is not going to continue because it obviously has not worked. But questioning the whole way of life for Muslim females or males, it's not a good thing. You know, we remember what happened in Afghanistan before the Americans attacked. They used the issue of Muslim covering as a way of demonizing Afghanistan. They said that they want to go and occupy the country to free the women. And after they killed a lot of people and occupied the country, a good portion of the Afghan women continued to cover their hair and follow the Islamic guidelines. And the Western media outlets kept quiet because the reality was that dressing in that manner is a cultural norm in Islamic societies. So demonizing Iran in that manner is not something that I would advise.
Right. And Fahad, we have heard from President Ibrahim Raisi that while the Iran's Republic and Islamic foundations were constitutionally entrenched, but there are methods of implementing the constitution that can be flexible. What do we make of this statement?
Flexibility is a good thing. It's like morality. It's like modesty. Flexibility basically means that if you're implementing a policy that's not working, you change that policy. And the Iranian government, and the proper name is the Iranian government, not the Iranian regime. The Iranian government has that level of correcting the past mistakes, and they're going through different ways of making sure that the difficulties that the country has experienced doesn't happen again, because Iran has a lot of enemies and they're looking for faults to exaggerate and demonize Iran and put more sanctions on the Iranian people. The countries that are putting sanctions on Iranian people are not interested in Iranian human rights. If they were interested in Iranian human rights, they would not be killing people through sanctions. So a lot of these things are known to the public in Iran. That's why a very, very tiny minority engages in this type of activities.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast.
Thank you.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.